The Secrets of Disney is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What's there, Mama?
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
How do you do?
How do you do what?
Show me the smile.
If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all.
Very nice. You can sit by me.
Everything's so wonderful.
Come on, get up. Come on, get up.
Where are we going?
Up to Neverland.
You must kiss me.
Excuse me?
Please, princess.
One kiss.
Unless you beg for more.
Hi there, and welcome to another new episode of The Secrets of Disney. My name is Deborah Shaban. I am one of your hosts, and before we get started, I wanted to say that normally Sherry Tamamoto joins me, but today she is not joining me, but she will be back. Don't worry. We are trying some new voices out this year in 2020, and but Sherry and I are also going to expand our podcast someday in the future and do something a little bit different. I hope we can get that out here pretty soon. It'll be still a travel podcast, but it'll be a little different of a flair, a little more expansive. And just because it amuses me so much, I want to tell you the working title of this podcast is going to be A Salute to All Things Travel, but Mostly Disney, which is kind of a knockoff on the Muppets joke that Sam Eagle gets on. If you ever go to Walt Disney World and see Muppet Vision 3D, he gets on. It's a salute to all nations, but mostly America. So that's what we're doing. We haven't recorded.
God bless you, Sam.
Yeah. Oh, I love Sam Ingle. And that voice you hear is one of our new voices, and he's kind of an old voice to me. That's David Handlos.
Hello, everybody.
And we'll talk to him in a second. And I also have another voice, and you might have heard her giggle, and she's very famous in my circle of and SQPN, and I'm excited. She wanted to do this with me, which is Lisa Hendy, Catholic mom.
Famous, I don't know, but I'm thrilled. I'm so excited about this. Totally psyched.
Oh, I get so, Sherry and I had so much fun recording these because it's like, all the stuff we love to talk about. And before I get started, because I have a very special question for each of you, I wanted each of you to get a chance to kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and we'll start with David since he's kind of new. And before I start with David, I wanted to preface this with David and I used to do a podcast together for SQPN called The Secrets of Once Upon a Time, which was somewhat Disney related. We had a lot of Disney overlap. And so, and David also lives in the same state that I live in. He lives down the road from me. So welcome, David.
Hey, I am not very good at intros, but yeah, I've podcasted with Deborah for a while. Also did a couple episodes of a podcast called Secrets of Tintin, even before that. And yeah, that was
a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. But I am father of two. My wife and I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and we are perpetually exhausted, and usually Disney saves our lives by diverting our kids for a few precious seconds.
And although if you're a loyal SQPN listener, you will recognize right away Lisa Hendy, but I'll let her introduce herself as well.
Yeah, I'm like SQPN 1.0 in the version now that we're on like 20.0 or something like that. I go way back, but mostly started as a groupie, and back in the day with Greg and Jennifer and Father Roderick, and I'm really fortunate for the last couple of years to be serving on the board for SQPN, and just love the mission of the organization, love our shows, and I also love Deb Shaban, so I'm really happy to be a part of this.
Aww.
So I'm a Deborah fangirl. So
oh, that's so sweet. Because you know what, Lisa and I were in the same chat room And I realized that was 15 years ago.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. Wow. I know.
I have to say, I mean, so much of the good in my life is directly related to having been a part of SQPN and so many friends, and also so much of my work. I mean, I really attribute getting to write books directly to being a podcaster with SQPN. So it's been a wonderful ride, and it'll be fun to see where this goes.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. I want to keep calling it a new season, but it's just a new year of this podcast. And we will probably in the future, actually right now, if you're listening to this, and I'll trot this out there right now. If you have questions about Disney, whether it's park related or even movie related, you can certainly shoot us an email at disney@sqpn.com, and we would love to hear your feedback. But today we're going to kind of mosey on down the road here and ask a really simple question, which is, what is your favorite Disney memory?
Oh,
I know. Wow. I have two of them, or maybe even three, but I didn't want to go first. So do you want me to go first?
Yes, go first. What are whistles? And give us a chance to prep.
Okay. I'm going to let you think about this. But so if you haven't heard me talk about my career with Disney, I worked for Walt Disney World for 18 years. And I have a lot of memories, obviously. And one of them, my first, it's not so much a memory as much of a feeling. So I started working for Disney at 19 years old. And it was my summer between my freshman and sophomore year of college. And it was, one of those summers that's like one of the best summers of your life. And you look back on it fondly and go, oh, that was so much fun. And I probably was, I was dating a lovely young man back then who was also working with me at Disney and also, part of that whole college program scene. And I just remember just having so much fun on our dates around Epcot and just, the magic of that summer, some of the summer love, I'm not going to break out into song here. And then, so that's one of my favorite memories from Walt Disney World. Now I have two others, and one of them is a Father Roderick related memory. Ooh, yeah. So my first and only trip to Disneyland Paris was right before I walked the Camino in 2009. And I was still working for Disney, so I got free tickets to go. And Father Roderick's like, "Can I go with you?" So it was Easter Sunday, and Father Roderick met me in Paris. And I had also a name from the past for maybe some of you SQPNers will recognize Louisa Pittman.
Oh, yes.
Who used to have a show called, what was it? Archaeology. Oh, I can't even remember her podcast name, but she used to do underwater archaeology, and she was pretty interesting. She had a really interesting show and a really interesting life, actually. And so she met me. She was in Bristol at the time, and she met me in Paris. And then one of my best friends, who is also a Walt Disney World cast member, met me in Paris, and we had the best time. And Father Roderick, I've taken him to Disney like 3 times now, and he's like this big kid just going to Disney. It's so much fun. And I remember telling my friends, I'm like, I could die today and I would just be the happiest I've ever been in my life. And you can tell everybody that at my funeral. It was just such a great time. And then, okay, and I feel like I'm just like, let me ramble on for 5 minutes. My third memory is actually Disneyland in California, and it's a little more recent. Back in 2014, I was staying in Southern California for about 2 or 3 months, helping a friend out, and I needed a break. So I went to Disneyland by myself. And I had one of those perfect days where, like, when you're alone, you get to do whatever you want to do, which is a great reason to travel by yourself. And so I chatted up cast members. I got to go ride Tower of Terror. Back then it was Tower of Terror. 3 times in a row without getting off. They're like, "Do you want to ride again?" I'm like, "Yes." And by the 3rd time, I'm like, "Let me off." and then I was sitting in the nighttime water spectacular called World of Color. And I had a fast pass for that, and I sat up in the very front, and this French family kind of adopted me and like gave me candy and like chatted me up for an hour, and it was just so much fun. And I just had one of those days.
Americain.
Oh, they were adorable. Yeah, they gave me gum. It was awesome. So it was just one of those days that everything kind of fell into place the way it should. And
okay, a future topic suggestion, because I have been contemplating that, going to Disney by yourself. So let's put that on the wall for a future show idea.
Oh,
so
yeah, I would love to talk about that. Maybe I'll write that down. Let me find a pen.
Write it down.
I write it down. Okay, but while I'm writing that down, does anybody else want to tell me their favorite Disney moment?
Let David go next, because I'm dying to hear his.
Well, mine are actually probably, I don't know, they're probably way too simple. Because I grew up in middle of Kansas with the most basic of cable, and so the only times I ever got to see Disney usually was on that Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights. And that, this is back when when you had to pay for Disney, and you get those free previews every like once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
So this is going to sound sad, but like some of my favorite memories of Disney were like, oh, it's a free preview weekend. You did not, and me and my sisters did nothing but watch everything that we just watched that channel all weekend. So we would like absorb every single thing and talk about every single movie that we saw until the next preview came along, whenever that was. So
your parents were probably totally psyched too.
Yeah,
the
like,
kids are going to be occupied this weekend.
Oh darn! I guess we'll have to be over here by ourselves. But yeah, so it's like I guess my favorite Disney memory was like all of us realizing like I had an absolute lack of it growing up. So all of a sudden, just like I had these clusters of times when we watch every single classic Disney thing. Flight of I can't remember how many times I watched Flight of the Navigator, but yeah, just we absorbed every single thing that came on the Disney Channel in the late 80s, early 90s. Not a specific memory, really.
It's funny because I owe, in a sense, my Disney career to the Disney Channel in 1990.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I know I might have said this in an earlier podcast, and here I'm taking over your memory, but okay.
Go for
it. And this was in the day where my uncle had like the satellite dish, like the
wow.
The one that had to move, and was like you could swim in it. It was so big, but he had the Disney Channel, and we went over there Christmas Day to do the Christmas thing with my cousins, and we were all about the same age. So they turned on Disney Channel, and all of us sat on the floor in front of the TV, and I was 15 at the time, and my dad was sitting on the couch behind me for some reason, and it was Muppets Visit Disney Hollywood Studios, or Disney MGM Studios, or Walt Disney World. It was like some weird random Muppet thing where they were at Disney Hollywood Studios. And I turned around to my dad and I said, I'm going to work there someday. And I just knew it. I'm like, yep, I'm going to work there. And I turned back around, and I still remember that very vividly.
Wow. You spoke it into the future. That's awesome.
Nice.
I did. So Lisa, what do you
I have so many, but I'm going to limit myself to two because I grew up in Southern California. I was born in 1963, so I'm older than you guys, and I can still remember going to Disneyland when it was free to walk in, and you had the ticket books with like the e-tickets and all that, but which probably doesn't make sense to the two of you, but that was back before you paid for admission. You could walk into the park and you got on the rides with tickets. But two favorite Disney memories. First is my dad and I think this was in the 1990s, ran the very first Disneyland 10K. And it was through the park, and it was before hours, before opening. And it was the most magical. I'm not a huge runner, but it was the most magical sporting experience I've ever had because it was so much fun running that day that, normally when I would do like a 5K or a 10K, I'd be like, oh, when is it ending? And this was the total opposite. It was that feeling that you could just run forever because you were having so much fun. And to do it with my dad was awesome. And the second favorite memory is actually in recent years, my sons, you probably remember them, Deb, as like little kids, but they are now young adults. And my Adam, who's my second son, is now a 25-year-old, and he's a full-time musician, and he loves Disney just as much as I do. So the last 3 years, one of our Christmas traditions has been the week before the park gets super crazy. So the week before Christmas, we make a trip just with the two of us, a Christmas visit to Disneyland. And we go to see all of the decorations, but especially to hear all of the music. And it's just such a beautiful time of year to be in the park. And the performances are amazing. The park is full of music, and to go with him, it's fantastic.
That's so nice. I tell you what, as much as we like to focus on how much the kids love Disney, when you're an adult and you take like significant other, or you go on a date, either whether you're a married date or a date, whether, single date, there is so much.
We can still have dates when you're married.
I know. You're talking to a perpetual single person, so I'm like, oh yeah, they're you married people. But
it's not easy. I'll leave it at that.
It's. I think Disney is such a great spot to have a romantic evening. I know that sounds ridiculous, but there's so many things that is for adults and not just for children.
Okay, this may be like a little PG for the podcast. If you have little kids, cover your ears. But as a high school girl who was at Disneyland quite often, I could tell you all of the very romantic spots in the park. And sadly,
I could
somehow
too, Lisa.
I married a husband who doesn't really, I mean, this is like a sacrilege, but he doesn't really like going to Disneyland. Thankfully, my kids do. So,
oh, I know.
Okay.
Well, and like, for example, I've reached an age where like most of my friends, my girlfriends, are all like, their kids are probably middle school, high school age, and so now I have friends who are like, hey, do you mind if I go with you to Disney? Because my husband's going to watch the kids, and he doesn't like to go to Disney anyway. So, and I just need a break. So I'm reaching that age where I have lots of single girl, or not single, but married, and I need to get away from my kids' kind of girlfriends who are like, yes, take me to Disney. So I understand that. We can actually talk about a couple of the things you mentioned and future episodes too, if people are interested, because I know actually a lot about e-tickets, Lisa. So I know what you mean when you said, oh, the little booklet. Like,
yeah.
Ooh. So we could go in the Wayback Machine and talk about about the how the park used to be and how it's evolved, and they still call it e-ticket rides for a lot of the attractions that are.
I mean, the
popular.
funny thing is now, like the whole e thing has a totally different. We think of electronic tickets or email or whatever, but it's
right,
like
because now you probably use
that.
your phone, or so you probably use your phone to like swipe your phone over something, and boom, that'd
Actually,
be the e-ticket.
yeah, that's exactly what you do.
You use your Magic Band. But back in the day, those were like little coupons that you ripped out of a book, and yeah, so it's so fun.
We'll have
I'm still
to.
picturing that race. They should bring that race back and actually make everyone do cosplay. That'd be great.
There are
actually
so
do.
many Disney sporting events. That could be a whole nother podcast for us too.
I
so.
am writing that down because Sherry actually did. You would love this, David. Sherry did what they call the Kessel Run at Disney World, where it was like a Star Wars themed. I think it was
Spice Run.
Yeah. So they did the. Her and her husband always do like kind of like the 10 mile or the half marathon or a 10K, or not the full marathon usually, but to run Disney. And I know people who do what they call the Goofy or Dopey Challenge. I can't remember if it's the Dopey Challenge. It might be. It's where they run every single race in like a week, where they start with the 5K, then the 10K, and then the half marathon, then the full marathon, and like a couple other weird races in between. And they get like 7 medals by the end of it. And, and they can't walk for a week, but they're so into it.
So David,
I was definitely wear the Goofy shoes. That'd be great.
David, is it right that you haven't been there yet with your kids? Like, you're still anticipating your first family trip to Disney?
First trip, period. Yeah. So that's gonna have to happen because Viv's already 7. At some point, it's not gonna be as magical the older she gets.
Oh, I actually disagree with that, believe it or not.
Oh no! Oh, now that you say that, yeah, I could see why you disagree. But it's just the Monica wants this to be the childhood moment thing,
Right. And yeah, there is something special about that. I'm not gonna downplay that. I took my friend's 2-year-old to Disney for the first time, and we have pictures of her seeing the castle for the first time and the expression on her face, and it was really special. And when she saw Minnie Mouse for the first time, she was like, Minnie Mouse, and that 2-year-old still in the stroller but trying to get out mode, and it was adorable. So, and how old is your son now? I can't remember.
He turns 4 next week. So, I mean, this is the age where this is the age where like last week, it's not Disney, but we took them to see 2 members of the quote unquote Paw Patrol. And, those are real to them. So that's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like when they're actually meeting Minnie Mouse or Mickey Mouse, I still want that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would hate to say that you never outgrow Disney. Like it's different for different age groups. Like you see different things and you experience different things. So, but I understand the whole, let's get them there early and make more memories for them, but also for us, for the parents. More, I think sometimes more so for the parents than for the children, because I was about Viv's age when I first went to Disney, and I remember bits and pieces. I think my parents remember more, but but I remember falling asleep, and and my parents having to carry me out, and that kind of stuff. And
one thing that you
want
to do is think about little traditions that will be in your family, because we have some things that we do every single time we go, and we always take a picture by the kind of topiary Mickey garden thing when we walk in. We always take the train around, the first thing, ride it around the park. It's just fun to kind of and those are things that I did as a little girl that now our kids are doing. And soon, I don't have grandkids yet, but someday soon that might happen with them too.
Hey, David, if you decide to go,
yes.
Sometimes one of the things that you could do that is a lot of fun, and I see a lot of families doing it, is make yourselves for one day wear matching T-shirts with
Oh, yes.
And everybody's doing it. It's so much fun to see all the crazy T-shirts that people come up with, or all the the Johnson family Disney, and they have all their names on the back, and it's really nice. It's a definitely a unifying thing at Disney.
It also helps you find your kids if they get
Yes. Well, with my last name, that's helpful too.
Well, we will help David plan his whole Disney trip here on this season coming up here on Secrets of Disney.
Seriously, I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
and we have a lot of things that are coming up. Like Disney's always coming out with a lot of different, whether it be movies or whether it be experiences. I know I was talking to Dom Bettinelli via email, and he cannot wait for the new Star Wars Experience Hotel to open next year. And neither can Sherry. Sherry's like, when you see it open, tell me right away so I can book it right away. And this is maybe a topic for another podcast, but we had talked about she wants to experience the hotel as it was designed to be experienced by the Imagineers at Disney. So just a quick preference, what that means is, a Disney attraction or hotel or cruise line or something opens and it's new and it's shiny and it's the way that it was imagined to be. And then things happen and they have to either, change the experience a little or something breaks and it can't be fixed. An example of this is when Expedition Everest, which is a roller coaster at Animal Kingdom, opened. There was a Yeti, huge Yeti at the very end of the roller coaster was trying to swat you from the roller coaster, and that Yeti broke down, and so it was just way too expensive to fix the Yeti, so they added a strobe light. And so the Yeti, you can't tell if it's moving or not. It's just a big strobe light. And so they call it Disco Yeti now. But, and there's a whole Facebook group about it. But it's like, you want to go on these attractions as they first open, because then they start changing over the years and then they become something a little different sometimes. And then, and she was talking about, we had several examples. So maybe that's something in the future, or maybe Sherry wants to come on and talk about that. But we have so many ideas, so many things. New things are opening. Ratatouille is going to be new at Disney World this summer. There's several new attractions, several new hotels. I think there's a lot of cruise ship stuff going on, so we won't run out of things to talk about.
Yeah, it's so exciting. It's like you can't really keep up. I mean, we out here in California, we've seen Galaxy's Edge open over the last year, and I haven't made it onto the newest ride yet, but it's so really fascinating to walk into that and just see, even before Rise of the Resistance was open, to see just the atmosphere in there and how things continue to evolve and how exciting it all is.
Yeah. Really, if you watch Star Wars, like, our generation watched Star Wars, when you get to see the Millennium Falcon for the first time and you get to ride in the capsule of the Millennium Falcon, it is really special, that first experience. So I can't wait for you to have that, David. I can't wait for you to see it.
You'll love it.
And I haven't been on the new Rise of the Resistance ride either, but I have seen it on I'm one of those people that I like to know what I'm getting myself into before I get myself into it. So I YouTubed it, and I've seen the experience on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I can't wait to see it in person. I'm sure it'll be much grander than I can imagine.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing in that area was going to the cantina for a drink.
That was my
There's a cantina too?
Yes, and you can take your kids, David. They have kids drinks there, but it is the most fun happening nightclub you've ever been to. It's really quite, they do songs, and there's funky music, and there's good lighting, and there's the bartenders, because they're Disney bartenders, are always a lot of interaction. And Lisa, did you try several of the drinks? I
tried one drink, and I have to find out what the name of it is. I'll report back on the name, but it actually made my lips numb.
Oh,
it was smoking.
It was the fuzzy.
Yes, and it
was the fuzzy tauntaun.
Yes, and it was like, those pop rocks that turn your mouth like kind of like, it's basically like your mouth goes to sleep. It was quite tasty, but I couldn't speak properly for about an hour afterwards.
Do they have a shot glass dedicated to Greedo shooting first? Or?
Oh, that'd be funny.
Oh, they don't? That would be great. Oh.
That needs to be a thing. We need to make that a thing. That they do have, like, if you go at 7 a.m, yes, it was open when I was there, because I was there for, like, when it first opened. They had the traditional, like, Bloody Mary, but I think it was like a bloody something or other. It was just... So they have, so you can go there first thing in the morning if you want to. It's 5 o'clock
somewhere. Or the Ewok that bit you.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's kids drinks in there too. Like the first drink I had there was actually non-alcoholic, was a coffee and tea infused drink, because I was like, I need coffee. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm dying here. I need coffee. So that was my first drink, was coffee. And then, and I'm perpetually a cheap person, because I'm like, $18 for a drink. Yeah. I'll take the coffee.
Exactly.
So, I need to maybe work on that, or save a little money for that experience. But if you're going, David, I totally recommend. That was my favorite experience. I'm not going to lie, out of the whole Star Wars thing.
I think my favorite experience that first time that we went, we've been a couple times now, but it was that Rey was there and she was giving Jedi lessons. So I took some Jedi lessons with a bunch of 6-year-old girls and me. And the Force was strong in me, and it was, it was really wonderful.
Oh, that's great.
It was a great experience.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
I know, poor David. Well, we're gonna get you there. We're gonna get you there probably in the middle of summer when it's horribly, horribly hot. But we're gonna get you there.
I'll take it.
But anyway, I think for now we're gonna probably wrap things up for this edition of Secrets of Disney. Again, you've been listening to us on the Star Quest Production Network. And to find any of the links, if we have any links to this discussion, or to find previous episodes, or to send us feedback, you can visit sqpn.com/Disney. You can also email us at disney@sqpn.com, or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Or we also have Twitter, which is, at SQPN. And my name is Deborah Shaban, and joining me today was David Hanlos and Lisa Hendy. And we want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Secrets of Disney on StarQuest. And Sherry would usually say, ta-ta for now. So I'll do it in spirit of Sherry. Ta-ta for now.